Welcome back to PCW, where today we are reviewing the throwback edition of Smackdown. Stay tuned for information on Jimmy Uso's return, the plans for the Universal and Women's Championships on the Smackdown side at SummerSlam, and who requested for the show to be called Throwback. Hello everyone, I'm PCW's Tom Collihew, and today I'm reviewing the second biggest fisting I've ever seen. WWE Smackdown this week did not feature Daniel Bryan, even though there is a new contract offer on the table for him. However, it did feature more as regards Roman Reigns and Cesaro, and a big return. Be sure to click like, subscribe if you haven't, and let's jump straight into it. While the throwback elements were dotted all around SmackDown, they didn't have much bearing on actual storylines and wrestling, and really this was very subtly done, as I did first mention on my Twitch on Monday. We had a couple of clips from the first 5 years of SmackDown, but really this felt more like a WWE throwback going all the way back. We had Superstars music, we had people wearing the big jackets that Vince McMahon used to wear. It didn't really feel like it had very much to do with the SmackDown product we were actually watching, so I won't focus too much on that. The big news from the off was Jimmy Uso's return. He returned during a 10-bell salute when the WWE apparently couldn't afford a bell to ring, so Paul Heyman was making the noises on behalf of Roman and Jey Uso to salute their fallen opponent in Daniel Bryan. This is even more suggestive that Daniel Bryan will be back very soon. Jimmy Uso would return during this, and he had an interesting character arc, really a lot thrown into this 2-hour segment for Jimmy Uso, who initially would connect with Roman Reigns very well, would support Jey Uso, and then over the course of the night would show that he really wasn't behind the head of the table at all. Our opening match was Seth Rollins vs Cesaro, the only match announced for the show, and this was because we were going to have a number one contendership. If Cesaro won, he would take on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania Backlash. This was brought in by Teddy Long, who was the only actual throwback shown. Jimmy and Jey would stay at ringside to try and ensure a win for Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, however, would get in their way. Jimmy would hit Seth Rollins with a super kick after Seth threw Jey to the floor, kind of, and Cesaro would get the win there. This means that we will see Cesaro taking on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania Backlash, but also has some suggestions for Seth Rollins, who lost clean at WrestleMania but had a very protected finish tonight. This would be the beginning of a number of problems between Jimmy and Jey, and of course Roman. Seth spoke backstage to Roman, essentially saying that I know we have a problem, but you have a problem too. Showing interestingly that Seth actually has quite a bit of power in the dynamic they have at the moment. Not something I'd expect given the positioning of Roman Reigns. We also had disagreements between Jimmy and Jey, and at some point later, Roman said to Paul Heyman, "Get me Us," referring to only one of the Usos, naturally Jey. The second match featured Carmella taking on Ruby Riott with Liv Morgan in her corner. This, on the surface, seems like an off-championship feud. However, it's not going to be a feud. A win over Ruby Riott here, clean with submission, is all that it takes for Carmella. It only took about 2 minutes. Next week she will likely take on Liv Morgan, as she is being built to be the next challenger for Bianca Belair. Bayley will only be in the position of challenger for 1 month by the look of it. I still suspect we may see Bayley moving across to Raw to give Rhea Ripley a SummerSlam opponent. Speaking of Bayley, she came down to the ring for the second hour draw segment, celebrated a historical women's champions, listed off a great many numbers, some that weren't mentioned, Sable, Chyna, and of course more recently Charlotte, Becky for example. But this essentially gave her an opportunity to mock Bianca Belair, who came out, beat the crap out of her, and then we all moved on with our lives. These two are getting very physical very early because we know that it's going to be a short feud. The WWE does not like to get people too physically interactive until late on in a feud, which is why we see spoilers such as Keith Lee with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, and in fact now Jimmy Uso, who has replaced Daniel Bryan as a spoiler between Roman and Cesaro, because that feud will keep going as well. Come SummerSlam, we are likely to see the return of Sasha Banks to challenge Bianca Belair, who I believe will retain at least until SummerSlam. In addition, Seth Rollins stepping up to Roman Reigns is very suggestive of the plan there. The plan seems to be Seth versus Roman for the main event of SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. Dolph Ziggler was beaten by Dominic Mysterio in less than 2 minutes by a surprise roll-up. This very much suggests the championship feud we are going to see going into WrestleMania Backlash, the Mysterios against Ziggler and Rude. I still maintain my suspicion that the Mysterios will be taking the championships now that the Usos are back as a heel tag team. I do think we will get to the Mysterios versus the Usos in very short order. Reginald took on Tamina, did some flips, got beat up, and then the DQ win went to Tamina because Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax got involved. We've already seen plenty of this, and next week, in a match that was going to be on WrestleMania Backlash but has been taken off due to overflow, we are going to see the Tag Team Championships defended against Natalya and Tamina. They need to change champions now. Our main event, at least wrestling-wise, was a 10-man tag match where the WWE essentially took all ongoing storylines that hadn't been covered and crushed them together nicely. So we had a tag team feud, we had an Intercontinental Championship feud, and we had a build for someone we haven't seen for a couple of weeks. The competitors, and you'll forgive me for reading this, were King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, Otis and Chad Gable on one side with Commander Aziz at ringside but not involved. On the other side, Big E, Shinsuke Nakamura, both Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, and Kevin Owens. So it was a very clear face versus heel dynamic, but it's just a lot of storylines ongoing at once. The match lasted about 10 minutes and was very, very high paced. Not many moments were spent with all 10 men on the ring, or in the ring as it were. There was a lot of action on the outside, a lot of flips, and a lot of very quick motions. This felt sort of like a cruiserweight match outside of a certain number of individuals, for example King Corbin and Big E. It was Baron Corbin who got the win here, hitting a glorious end of days on Shinsuke Nakamura, and this for me looked like a rebuild for Corbin. My suspicion is that once Cesaro is done with Roman Reigns, he will need someone new to take on. Corbin may be moving into that position, and in the meantime, Big E might be there. Finally, for our actual main event segment, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso and Paul Heyman were in the ring when Jimmy Uso came down. Now what happened here was essentially an escalation of tension between Jimmy and Jey. Jey would walk out of the ring when Jimmy did to try and stop him from walking away from the family, and what actually happened there was that this gave an opportunity to Cesaro to attack Roman. Jey would try and run down and protect Roman, but Jimmy would briefly hold him back. Jey escaped, attacked Cesaro, but Cesaro got the upper hand. When Jey was under attack, then Jimmy would enter the ring to try and protect his brother and not his cousin, which tells you very clearly where his loyalties lie. However, Cesaro was able to put all three of them down due to the staggered Ninja Warrior-like method by which they entered the ring. Very pro wrestling, very pro wrestling. One at a time, guys, one at a time. Jimmy had originally been due to return in around January. However, from what I can tell, he aggravated an injury and was kept out a little bit longer. He has been cleared for a little while, but creatively they didn't find the right moment for him to be brought back into the fold until now, when Daniel Bryan was out of the picture. And so he is back, and so he will be wrestling soon in the tag division, taking main event Jey Uso sort of down with him in that regard. That said, I do suspect Jey and Jimmy will be both by Roman's side in no time at all, because that's the only way to keep Roman Reigns from wrestling on SmackDown. Roman Reigns is intentionally working a very light schedule when it comes to in-ring action at the moment. Finally, as regards the throwback, this was apparently not demanded by Fox, even though Fox were doing a whole throwback week. WWE saw what Fox were doing and saw an opportunity for SEO, so search engine optimization. If you'd like to know more about this, there is a video over on my YouTube channel about the greatest wrestling match ever, about how WWE are cornering the market, and by the market I mean search engine terminology, to ensure that when you search for certain things, WWE comes up. If you search for the greatest wrestling match ever, WWE comes up instead of, for example, AEW, New Japan and the like. And now if you search for throwback, you get a lot of WWE, completely ignoring everything that Fox had just delivered. SmackDown this week was a very good show that honestly flew for me, and I really enjoyed it. That said, once we have gotten through Cesaro and Seth Rollins, there is not many people on that show who are top level main event quality. I think this is why we are seeing a rebuild for Seth Rollins and for Baron Corbin going forwards. Let me know what you thought of SmackDown down in the comments. I've been Tom Colliehue for PCW, and I'll see you next time.